What's up? Thank you so much for tuning in to Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network, Final Fan TV. Today, we're taking a look at the future of Final Fantasy on Final Forecast. We're going to look at Red 13 and how he can be improved story-wise, what he's going to play like in battle. This is just us spitballing ideas. We're kind of starting a conversation with you. So please, I encourage you, if you're watching live, chime in the chat. What do you want of Red 13? And if you're watching this recorded on YouTube later, please comment. This is an open conversation. That's what Final Forecast is all about. We want to extend the conversation with you guys post show as well as during the show. So let's talk about it. This is actually thanks to our Crystal Bearer Patreon, Vincent Graymore. Thank you so much for bringing this one to the table today. This is his choice. He wants to talk about Red 13. I'm going to read off his comment, and then maybe we'll build off of that. Does that sound good, Vinny?
Yes, sounds good to me.
Okay. He says, let's see. I'm gonna start. I've had weird conversations with people about stuff, about hands meetings and whatnot, but I'll start a little early. What would you feel about Seto being either freed from petrification or have his fate changed so he is alive? No, I said Seto. I think it's Seto. And in the very least, in my opinion, a ghost Seto or a final moment with Red seems very likely at this point. I prefer the symbolism of his father crying, but the explanation is more like a random actual explanation of water droplets from soft rain, even if the sky is clear or at least natural. If they're going to have symbolism taking, if they're going to have symbolism taking actual place, like the last battle being the whole world of meteor and whatnot, then the game's reality is just a blend of characters' feelings. To me, it is more beautiful if Seto is dead, and the tears are more for Red's present in whatever form. So, what do you feel about of Seto maybe having a moment, a Mufasa moment, if you will? You know what I mean? Like just
Where he
appearing
like a spirit,
where he can kind of talk to Red. You get a little bit more of his backstory, or what do you feel about Seto not actually dying? What if his fate has changed? Do you feel like this was going to? Yeah, I have a feeling where this is going to go. I feel like it would directly impact the story for Red 13. But what do you think, Vinny? This is really personal to you because this is one of your favorite moments.
Yeah, this is the probably one of my favorite moments, if not my favorite moment. I think he should remain dead, and I'm not saying that because like to be like heartless or anything, but him being dead, him making a sacrifice is what fuels Red to it gives Red the fuel to push on through this journey. He wanted to stay at Cosmo Canyon. He goes through the Gi tribe.
Oh man, wait, real quick. Thank you so much, Baby Seal, for the gifted subs. That's wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So
sorry.
No, you're fine. That was important.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Baby Seal. I think like if he were to have, I think he needs to remain dead. If he were to have a Mufasa moment, then I think that it would be more beneficial if it's something that happens in Red's head. Not that he actually like comes back as a spirit. But like if Red sees him as a spirit, no one else can see that spirit. It's kind of just like it's only happening to Red or Nanaki or however. Because he made a sacrifice, and I always juggled this in my head when I saw the tears. Which this impacted me more that Red 13's father was actually still alive, but just petrified in that spot. So always guarding, but still alive, which to me that's like could be like a fate worse than death, like just being frozen in one position just forever. Because they live a very long time. And I don't, maybe because of the poison that he doesn't need to eat, maybe it slowed everything down or whatever. But all the people who say like, oh, why didn't they just use a soft and unpetrify him? I don't think they explain it very well in the game, but they say that it's Gi tribe poison in their arrows and their darts that petrified him, not that it's like the status ailment of petrification where you could just cure it with soft. Because I'm pretty sure they would have just done that.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's because of the special poison that the Gi tribe uses. Like it petrified him, but it didn't petrify him instantly. Like you see a lot of arrows in his back.
Yeah.
So I think that for the sake of remake's integrity, they should keep him dead or how he is petrified. But I think they should have like when Bugenhagen is telling Red about, you know, when Red's mother and Red's father defended Cosmo Canyon, that should be like a playable, you know, a fleshed out playable part of the game where you're, you know, because if you could play as Red, you should have no problem playing as Seto. So, you know, you kind of play as Seto and you fight against the Gi tribe and you know, you're like getting more of a backstory as, you know, to what Cosmo Canyon was, and probably more fleshed out on Red 13's race of he howls like a wolf, but he's definitely like cat like, so you know, kind of like got to mix it both of those. But what were you gonna say?
Oh no, Red in the compilation, which I'm sure is going to be touched on in remake. I'm sure in the compilation, Red actually has a girlfriend, or I can't remember the name. I'm so sorry.
But she was hibernating, right?
Yeah, like that was their thing. Like they do that, the hibernating, and then the, you know, she gave birth to 2 or 3 cubs. And yeah, so I think they're going to touch on that. I really do. I really think that's going to be expanded on in remake, to really kind of flesh out Red 13 as a character a little bit more. And regarding Seto, whether or not, I think, you know, maybe it's so weird because in the original Final Fantasy VII, Red 13 was more of a teenager. I mean, even though he's much older, like, you know, but in his age, but he's a teenager, like is what Bugenhagen said. So he kind of acted more mature in remake.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. In remake, yeah, he definitely
he's
was
not coming across.
But in the original, he kind of had like a brooding, you know, dark teenager feel to it too. Like,
okay,
not, like, you know, in the beginning he was very articulate and you know, like when he spoke to Aerith, he was like I'm you know, I apologize that I, you know, had to put on that act for Hojo, but you know, I didn't mean to scare you. Like he was polite, he was mature.
Okay.
Yeah, but but everything, he was mature for everything.
He also did the smile thing too. He kind of has that little bit of a childlike behavior. Yeah, well, I guess where I was going with that was like, you know, I guess he knows that he's a father now. Like if he had kids, like, you know, he knows that he's going to be a father. So I think fleshing out that father-son relationship between him and Seto would actually be really impactful if we find out in the remake, like if it's told that he knows that he's having kids, and his father was what he believes is a coward. Maybe that kind of gives him doubt or something like that, where maybe that can be clarified or cleared in his mind when he finds out that Seto is actually this great warrior. And then maybe that can help him become a better father, to, you know, to his future kids. So yeah, I think that would be cool.
And so one way you see this work in Final Fantasy, because it's very similar in Final Fantasy X, when Tidus the whole game just thinks his father abandoned his family and that he was a coward and a drunk, and you know, doesn't believe that Jecht went to Spira where Yuna and Braska are. And then when he finally, it just keeps chipping away all the moments that he gets to talk to his father, but all those moments that he talks to his father aren't really happening. until the very end when he actually gets to talk to his father, you know, right before he kills him. So, and you can tell at that moment where he still says like, I hate you. And his dad's like, I know. But like, he says it so like solemn, like he like regrets hating him because his dad actually like, you know, wasn't, or he at least, he was a shithead, but he redeemed himself by, you know, sacrificing his life once he realized like, there's no way I'm going back. So that could work with Red
it would
too.
be very impactful, especially that scene can actually hit really hard. And it will be very interesting how they can do it, because they definitely have potential, especially if they're going to explore the father son dynamic, and then, you know, Red becoming a father himself. That would be really, it could be really impactful. I think to answer Vincent Graymore's question about if Seto should remain in that state, or if he should, you know, have a moment where he can talk to him, or not even be dead, I'd say no. I feel like they should really lean into what we said about the father son dynamic. Vincent Graymore also added in Patreon. I just saw your second comment, Vince. I was wondering where you put that. So he said, okay, we'll be interested in how you think the future will unfold in remake for Red. Is it possible that Seto was one of those affected by the Whisper's defeat fallout as well? Flashback with both father and mother, or separately, is not far-fetched either. I also find it strange that Red was already on board, and it kind of sounds old instead of a snarky teenager. Sorry about that. Yep, you said that right there. It would feel weird if he went back to being like he's in the OG at the start of the next installment. Aerith's memory forcing Red might be a way to speed up the arc.
So
which we don't really, like that's interesting, because Aerith kind of did fill Red in on a lot of things. Feels like, at least.
One thing I just had a thought where it kind of allows for both scenarios to happen. Is when you go through the Gi cave and you fight the undead soul of the Gi chief. Maybe he could drop the antidote to the petrification, but you know, unpetrifying Seto, his, you know, unpetrifies him, but he's still going to die. I mean, those wounds would probably still carry over. So you would unpetrify him, maybe have like enough time to actually have a dialogue with him, and then he passes on into the live stream. So, I mean, that could work. I don't know. I don't think I like that as much as him just remaining like this statue that, you know, for me, the original, like, it was impactful for me, and all I got was, you know, 2 tears out of a statue and then Red howling. Like that part right there was impactful enough. So, I'm not sure if they should really change that too drastically, but you know, the possibilities.
Possibilities.
The possibilities.
So yeah, there are ways that they can expand Red 13's story, and
I think
very excited to see what they do. Yeah, I really feel like they need to as well. He kind of, and they can even like spread it out throughout the game, because once Cosmo Canyon's over, Red 13 kind of like, it's kind of the end of his story, right?
Yeah,
like
he shot his plot load right as soon as
he shot his plot load right
there.
So they can kind of maybe spread that out. It's an interesting idea of being able to get the antidote to like be able to give him a proper send off, because that could be impactful as well. You know, depending on how it's written. As long as it's not like, here's
like
a
the
antidote
Whispers take him out.
And or like, here's the antidote, and you know, now you can be the grandfather to our kids, yay. And it's like, no, like, happy endings are not where I want it to go. But sometimes
happy endings don't fuel you to go take on the end boss, you know.
So I kind of liked your idea a little bit of giving them a proper send off, like kind of being able to go back and then saying a proper goodbye, and then like, you know, sorry, I thought you were a coward type thing. That could be cool. and then have it spread out throughout the course of remake installments, to whereas Red kind of has more of a story arc throughout. Yeah, those are ideas for how we feel like Red 13 story could be expanded. Now, to how he plays in combat. Now, there was a somebody broke into the game and found out that there were mechanics in play, just not fully fleshed out. From that video, it looked like he was fast and agile. He kind of had that little, like when he runs up and he goes, like his standard attack. He was doing that, which was kind of cool. As far as like what his certain move set will be, I'll go ahead and read another comment from Vincent Graymore, Crystal Bearer Patreon, and we're going to read his comment right here on the show, just as weekend for you if you are a Patreon supporter. So we really appreciate that. But Vincent says, as for combat, as long as they keep the battle system of one special, I'll refer to it as Y. Triangle is longer. Anyways, he's referring to triangle. Okay. And one normal attack. I suspect that Red might be a buffer. Aerith's Tempest was a rather strange ability for a white mage. I kind of consider Aerith a red mage, but and then this kind of makes sense. And since basically enable dual cast, Aerith is kind of a black mage in the game. All except Cloud of the current characters has damage on Triangle, including Yuffie. If Square Enix goes for a buff, I think Red's Triangle will have the longest cooldown. An argument against anyone having anything but damage self-buff stance on Triangle is that way it's mandatory to start. It's kind of the mandatory to start each battle. Having a debuff is kind of the same. This is probably why Aerith had a damage ability instead of a buff or heal on Triangle. So he's mentioning Triangle as what will Red 13's Triangle button be? In the original Final Fantasy VII, he does act as a support in a way. He has like a support class, maybe support attack class. But yeah, so what do you think, Vinny? Do you think his Triangle ability will be a buff, kind of like a Lunatic High or something?
Well, I was thinking about Lunatic High. Red 13, when he first starts off, you notice that he starts with Fire and All, I believe, like just automatically equipped onto him. I believe it's Fire and All, but I know Fire for sure is equipped on him. And you find the enemy skill materia in his like test tube thing. So I think Red was initially thought up to be sort of like a saboteur. So or not a saboteur, but like
going like Final Fantasy 13 here.
Yeah, but like he's I guess you would consider that what, blue mage. He's he's a beast that learns other beast skills, just like how Gao in Final Fantasy VI was like feral, so he can learn other enemy skills. So like I feel like enemy skill was meant to be put onto Red 13, which is why I don't know why they didn't just have it equipped on him. But I feel like with Red has some pretty strong limit breaks as far as damage wise, but he has Lunatic High, which that casts Berserk on himself, right? And ups his accuracy.
Lunatic High casts haste on everybody.
Oh, haste on everybody. What's the one?
Yeah, you're thinking of
is that Blood Moon?
Howling Moon, where he jumps
Howling
up
Moon.
like Howling Moon, yeah.
Yeah, that so he's kind of like, he's definitely a buffer. But also he's like DPS buffer. Like not like, I'm gonna cast Shell and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's all about like speed and aggression.
That's true.
Because he's feral. So I feel like he's gonna be like Tifa in a way, where he's about speed and aggression. I feel like he's gonna be able to cast stuff that maybe, I feel like he's going to be a very strong AI, where he's going to be casting haste on himself, Berserk on himself, and then you don't got to worry about him as a teammate. He's going to be buffing himself, maybe buffing you, but ultimately making sure that the party is doing as much DPS as possible. So he's going to be who you want to bring into a boss fight. and not have to worry about his AI, and then you can micromanage your 2 other characters because he's going to be buffing himself and you.
Yes, yeah, he's all about buffing. And if we take a look at his limit breaks, limit break 1 was Sled Fang. Limit break his second level 1 limit break was Lunatic High. That was the one that cast haste on the entire party. Then level 2 was Blood Fang, right?
Blood Fang, where he heals, right? He heals the damage that he inflicts.
He absorbs he absorbs about, I think it was like a 25%, if I'm correct. He absorbs the damage he deals out. And then Stardust Ray,
which was powerful.
And then,
that was a multi-hit, right? It was either AoE or multi-hit.
It was random, like it damaged randomly though. So it could just hit the same enemy a bunch of times. But Howling Moon was the one we were talking about with casting haste and Berserk on Red 13, where he just constantly hits, but his damage is increased
because of Berserk.
Yeah, and then oh my goodness,
his ultimate one is Cosmo Memory.
No. There's the second level 3 was Earth something. Earth Rage. Yeah.
Earth Rave. That's it.
Earth Rave. Yes. So there's that, and then Cosmo Memory was his ultimate.
Which is very bad for an ultimate because it hits once for 9999. So it's like you want your limit breaks to really be doing more than one hit.
Well, we saw in Remake that it's not too wild to think that, I mean, Catastrophe was on Barrett. So like we could see Cosmo Memory being used by Red 13 and not be his final limit break. I was thinking Sled Fang is like a surefire thing, kind of like how Cloud had the
Braver and Clem Hazard.
No, the one where he pushes forward. Crap, like he strikes forward. I used it all the time. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, I can feel like that will be on Red 13, Sled Fang, as just kind of like a standard move that he has, not a limit break, just a standard move. And then the thing about what Vincent was saying about what's the triangle move, force thrust. Thank you. Force thrust for Cloud. And so it'll kind of be similar to that to really close the gap. Like you said, all about speed and aggression, closing the gap, getting in there. And I think Sled Fang is going to be just a standard thing for him. Man, the buff move though, the triangle move. The triangle move, he brought up the buff idea. And if he's going to use Lunatic High,
that's too overpowered as a special.
Yeah, and like he said, it would have to have a really long cooldown or charge time. Yeah. Or just Howling Moon, where he just casts haste and Berserk on himself.
Which isn't unheard of, because in Final Fantasy VI, when Gao uses his ability, you can't control him for the rest of the match, and that's every single fight he gets in. You can't control him.
And you can imagine in Remake, if you have Red 13 casting haste and Berserk on himself, you can now just switch between your other 2 characters and not really have to manage what he's doing. But that could also end up hurting you, like, because now you can't control him if he's having any abilities on him that you need to use,
or if he's having a rough go at it and he's not backing off, and you kind of need him to like not die.
So there is a give and take there, double-edged sword on that. It could be his triangle move, maybe. Interesting. But yeah, so do you feel like what do you feel like his starting abilities? I think Sled Fang for sure is going to be there. Maybe even Cosmo Memory.
I was thinking Sled Fang and Stardust Ray, because that's one of the more popular ones. And it's
more of an area of effect.
Yeah, it was visually pleasing in original, so I can only imagine how it's gonna look, Stardust Ray. Because I feel like Stardust Ray is going to be the early, like, the budget Comet. Like that's like a little intro to how the Comet spell is gonna, because Comet 2 had like all the comets coming down and everything. So Stardust Ray would be a really nice, like, little tiny meteor shower, of damage. Because I don't think anybody really has that, right? Like a little.
Dude, we're gonna get Quake we're gonna get Comet. Like these are spells that we haven't seen yet in remake, and I'm
and
really
it's interesting too because in original you weren't privy to using arrow. You just needed to have this like enemies could use the wind magic spell arrow on you, but now in remake you were able to use arrow because that was actually a weakness of a lot of the flying enemies. So I wonder what spells that we're gonna get in remake that we weren't able to use in the original.
Yeah.
Like holy.
Holy is that's gonna be there's so many, like if we're gonna talk about spells a little bit before we close it out. We were talking earlier, I can't remember who it was on Twitter. I wish I think it was I believe it was Cafe de Chester. Maybe. But we were talking about how they liked Ice 3. Like that was one of the most visually pleasing. Ice 3 all, where it just attacks everybody. It has this beautiful animation. And I'm like, well, what if they kind of go Blizzard 2, Blizzaga 2? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, just kind of have the 2 at the end to kind of throw back to the original, but also expanding on these spells that we, like you said, we, you know, you kind of blew the load right there at the beginning. Like now Blizzaga is already done, but if you can expand on that, like if you can have Blizzaga 2, and then in the next one Blizzaga 3, that would be kind of cool, where it just becomes like this really, really epic magic spell that you're using by the end.
It just drains all of your MP, just like an MP drainer.
Yes, or, that would be cool. Almost at this point, like it's like a summon animation. Like you just freaking use Blizzard. It's just like that would be so cool.
I mean, you know, some of these spells are supposed to be like, because like in Final Fantasy 1, you there are certain spells that you don't learn unless you're a black wizard at level 8, like level 8 magic and stuff. And you know, these spells are supposed to be like grandiose and super powerful. So they should, just like in 15, summons are supposed to be huge and powerful. So they only come at certain parts of the game because of how powerful they are. Well, like desperation attacks would be pretty cool, where it's like, you know, like I'm gonna cast like Blizzaga 3, and it's just like this cutscene of like, you know, just like the day after tomorrow, everything just freezes in place.
And it goes to like the classic original Final Fantasy, where Cloud like spins his sword, puts it behind his back, and just goes
and then disappears. and then disappears.
But that would be really cool to make these spells like super like obnoxiously powerful and a spectacle. But kind of touching back on Red 13 and how he could play in combat, one of the things that I've been thinking for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 was it's being teased in Intergrade with Yuffie DLC of Teamups, where like you know, Sonon throwing Yuffie in the air, and we talked a little bit about that, where we were like, Sonon resembles somebody else who uses a spear or lance. And I think they're kind of testing that, just like they tested Red 13 in Remake. They're testing how Sid would play. But you can't actually play as Sonon, just like you couldn't actually play as Red. Which, just to, I'm all over the place, but just to kind of feel like, to throw something out there, I think how cool would it be if Intergrade was like, by the time you get to Red 13, they've already fleshed out his combat, and now you can play as Red 13. Dude, what if like they're keeping that secret, and then like when Red 13 joins the party, you can actually have them in your party now?
I'm interested in seeing if like Kate Shee is going to be this just like plump thing that just like
they need
to. or also it'd be cool if like Kate Shee, you could actually control the cat that is actually Kate Shee, where it's like, you know, they split off from each other and the cat just like goes in for an attack or something, while, you know, the fat Moogle is like kind of you know, taunting.
Like Ice Climbers type thing, like Ice Climber. Like you're controlling two different things. That'd be interesting. But no, speaking of team ups, how would you want to see, and this is just me like speculating a little bit, where it's not even confirmed that they're going to be team up moves, but how would you want to see Red 13 team up with other members?
Well, like
what kind of attacks would you like to see?
Vincent Graymore brought it up that Red 13 buffs Barrett during the Harbinger fight. So even before Intergrade, that whole boss fight was kind of alluding to like, you know, how Red 13 buffed Barrett, and then Barrett shot the you know, the gigantic mass of energy and everything. So like they had cutscenes alluding to it.
Yeah.
Then they have Intergrade, which is like capitalizing on it. So I can definitely see that becoming like maybe Final Fantasy Remake Part 3, where it becomes an integral part of combat. Because I can see this leading up to super bosses like fighting Emerald or fighting Ruby, where you need more than 3 people. So you kind of have like,
that would be so cool if you could bring the whole party into a freaking super boss. Oh,
yeah,
that would be so
but
cool.
you only control 3 people, but you have the Teamups where you're like, all right, Cloud's gonna team up with Sid,
or switch parties,
or
like
switch
instead of
parties,
switching
like
character. Yeah.
So I could see it traveling in that direction. The
That's
Bizarro fight,
awesome.
yeah.
Like the Bizarro fight, the kind of like, you know, to just take that mechanic of the Bizarro fight and then use it for Emerald and Ruby and Diamond, Ultimate, blah 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 blah. That would be so cool to be able to switch parties. God, that's so cool. Anyways, so if we're going to talk about, he said Kate might also be Triangle on Red. I really don't want to see Kate Shi riding Red 13. Like I want to see the big Moogle, man. Like I want to see the stuffed Moogle or
especially
Mog.
because, you know, Kate, she was an important character in the original game.
Yeah,
being like,
the
you know, a
the
spy
robot that sacrifices
and
himself too.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. Which is not the worst sacrifice in sacrifice history, where he's like, you know, I'll make the ultimate sacrifice and crush my fake body.
My face, yeah, this is not
then,
really that.
And then they try and make it seem like even more emotional when the next one comes. He's just like, "Hi, I'm a different Kate Shi. I'm unique in my own way." It's like, no, you're not. Shut up. You're a robot.
You're a robot. Bro.
You're the same person. I'm not upset about this.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to touch on that. if they are going to make it like this big dramatic, they should just go for it. Just go all like this really dramatic sacrifice of a robot that doesn't like have
just
any
full send. Everybody's crying and you're just sitting there as the player, like
just like have the temple crashing in on it, like
right.
And then just have the other Kate Shi just pop up out of nowhere, you know, like
immediately. Have the next Kate Shi crying with the team for the first Kate Shi. Like, just so upset. Yes. And everybody like looks at him and they're just like, who are you?
Yeah, like so brave. Like that's the first thing he says as the party's watching it collapse, and then like, man, that's so brave. Look, whoa, what the
what y'all doing?
Yeah, wait, so what you guys doing? That's great. So anyways, chat, if you have anything anything to say on Red 13 in part 2, please, I want to hear about it. Like if you guys have any ideas.
I love that emoji.
I know, man. I actually created that Titus emoji, and
did you?
Yeah, I drew it out, and yeah.
Hold on, can I use it? How do I use it? Teach me.
You have to be a subscriber of a Final Fan TV, yeah. But yep, so thanks for using the emotes. That's awesome. But yeah, so if you have anything to add to it, please let us know. We're gonna close this one out. That was Red 13 and what we think of the future for Red 13. So next week, you know what? Help us decide what the topic will be. And if you're a Patreon supporter, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I forgot to show the graphic I made of saying thank you, so I do apologize for that. But I do have your level up bars going on. Let's see if I can add that now. Actually, let's see what happens. I want to bring this up because I really appreciate everybody who's supporting us over on Patreon. Thank you. And then also we have exclusive like polls that you can vote on. We'll probably have you vote on what pie to take to the face on Reed. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that we're going to do. Um, here we go. I'm bringing it up. There it is. There it is. Let me adjust to fit the screen. There we go. Awesome. So thank you to our Patreon supporters there. The level up bar will go up for each week. And then for every month, you will gain a level. It's kind of cool. There's no benefits to that. It's just cool to see, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing there. If you hit level 99, like, wow.
Yeah, really, wow. I like Badly Brave's the color of his level up bar. It's
the ultimate weapon. Thank you so much, Badly Brave. Appreciate that. Peebs, Nibbles, MJ Gallagher, and Vincent Graymore, thank you so much for supporting us. This is what we want to do. This is we want to keep doing this. We kind of want to keep doing it for for a living. That would be awesome. We want to be invited to events like KupoCon, and you supporting us directly like this is huge. Thank you. All right.
So I'm getting a gaming PC in a couple of days. And one of the things I want to stream, I don't know if any of you like Resident Evil, but there's a Resident Evil 3 remake mod where the main character of Resident Evil wears Tifa's outfit fighting zombies. So that's something I'm going to want to stream.
That's something I'm going to want to stream.
That's something I'm going to want to stream.
Yes, and also don't forget our Final Fantasy 1 challenge is coming up next week, where somebody challenged us to it. Who was the?
It was Final Fantasy 7 Materia Lockdown.
The Materia Lockdown challenge, where Final Fantasy 1, each character will be assigned by a bot telling what their weapon or what their class is going to be, which means they're assigned to a specific materia. Like a specific colored materia, and they cannot change or equip anything differently. Yeah, exactly.
And so far, Cloud got Monk.
Yep. Blue and what was it? Blue and
purple or blue and pink, whatever, which is a horrible combination.
I said, I see you have chosen hard mode.
Yeah, a horrible combination. You can't combo that with anything, because the blue materia is like elemental, added effect, all that stuff, which doesn't pair with HP plus and Chocobo lore and all that stuff. So
yeah. Also, another really cool thing for just a little housekeeping here for Final Fan TV. We do have some big things going on. So we have the Final Fantasy 1 challenge, the Materia Lockdown challenge for Final Fantasy 7 coming up. We are also going to be playing Final Fantasy 1, of course, to celebrate the Final Fantasy 1 season of content. I got some funny short form content planned. I have scripts written. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. More content coming at you, but right here on Twitch, I will also be hosting a Mad Libs with chat. So I will be taking a Final Fantasy synopsis, having you in chat just throw out words when I ask for them, and I will take your suggestions, replace words within the synopsis, and read that synopsis back to you with your new wacky words that you've given me. And then chat you guys will guess what the game is based off of that synopsis.
So, also, since there's only so many synopses?
I've heard of those.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Since there's only so many synopsi that can like be done, so also, what about like monologues? Like
monologues too, yes, quotes
like
and stuff
like
a
that. Dialogue or a monologue. Like Titus has some long monologues, and
we'll read it together. We'll back and forth read it out. Like I'll be Cloud, you be Barrett, or something like that, and we'll read it out. Maybe even have John Bentley on the show and read his.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing, but that's too far. But anyways, I'll be doing this. I'll be doing this during one day a week in the evenings. Follow us on Twitter or just follow right here on Twitch to be notified when we go live. But I haven't picked a specific day. I'm thinking Wednesday for about maybe 30 minutes to an hour. So it'll be a fun way to engage with you in chat. So thank you so much for Yeah.
And my Twitter is the same as my Twitch, which is @FaragaFighter. So I usually retweet stuff, or if I'm going to be doing a stream or something, I'll post that. I'll like post on my Twitter, because right now I'm trying to stream through Final Fantasy 1 to get footage for stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Easter eggs in that game that I completely forgot about. I think I sent you one in chat of somebody who died from a different game, different series. Yeah, so
it's really exciting, guys. So thank you so much for supporting Final Fan TV. We got lots of stuff coming at you in the future, and yeah, thanks for all the new subs, follows, and thanks for getting us to 10, where we will have Reed get a pie to the face.
Yes.
Look out for the poll where we're going to ask you what kind of pie. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.